Hey y'all, my name's Shelby. Welcome back to Bookshelves. This is a cozy little corner on the internet where we talk about all things reading, writing, and otherwise bookish. And today is the start of another writing vlog, and in particular, I think it might be a bit of a series this summer, maybe a couple weeks at a time, all about using my summer Fridays to catch up on my draft. So I am one of those lucky ducks that gets every other Friday off in the summer. And that is like the ultimate gift. So my hope is that I can use these Fridays as fairly committed writing days. Maybe not all day, but at least a couple solid writing sessions or perhaps one long writing session each Friday. I'm particularly trying, fingers and toes crossed, to get my first draft finished by this fall because I am returning to school. And I am not going to have time to write nearly as much. So it would be nice to have that first draft behind me so that I can do editing more piecemeal. Now, do I think it's likely that that will happen? No, because I'm writing a 4-ish part book and I am only in the start of part 2. So it would be an incredible feat to finish this draft by the fall, but I'm going to give it my best shot, and we'll see where we land. So today is my very first Summer Friday. It is May 22nd, I think. And I thought I would just kick this vlog off with a little once over about the day. I have a vision for these days, always including a little bit of movement before I start writing. I feel like it's a good way of really turning on my brain and kind of setting myself up for success. And while some days I might get to make a trip out to like a little cafe to write, today I'm going to go full like home cafe mode. So all that being said, we're going to head off to the gym to start the day. I need to make a quick grocery stop so that we have a few supplies for the weekend because we are headed to a friend's to dog sit for them starting tonight. And we can kind of build out a few freezer meals for that part of our weekend. And then I'll come home for a little home cafe setup before actually jumping into the writing. Anyway, that's what we're going to be up to. I'm very excited about it. And I will check in when we are back and ready to get going. Okay, I've had my gym time. I ran to the grocery store and picked up some supplies for the weekend. We have like a bunch of French fries in the freezer, so I picked up gravy and cheese curds. We're gonna have a little poutine night. I found some like very clearanced prepared food that we can have for dinner tonight, all of which is very exciting because it's a long weekend. We're dog sitting, so we're like not gonna be in our normal space. And I'm actually spending basically all of Saturday on prep for my next Avatar watch party, which I think I may have talked about hosting one in December during my NaNoWriMo vlogs. But basically, I have one very good friend who's never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I historically host these sort of seasonal, very elaborate tea parties. So instead of those, kind of in place of the tea parties for a while, I've been hosting watch parties where we have like a full day marathon and watch a whole season of Avatar. So we did the first one in December, and the next one is going to be like next weekend for season 2, which is very fun. And I do like all food that is referenced in that season. So like this is the season with Avatar Day and unfried dough. And I'm going to take like little mochis and like put the Avatar arrow on them. Basically anytime something is eaten on the show, I try to recreate that. So, sizzle crisps are in there. They at one point have like possum chicken when they're in the swamps. Like that's kind of the vibe. So anyways, I would like to have relatively straightforward food on hand to fuel us this weekend because I'm mostly going to be cooking in preparation for the following weekend. So It was a successful grocery shop. What comes next in my writing day? It's 10:45. I am going to start on our little baked good that is going to serve as breakfast for the week and a snack for me today, and make a coffee, and then I will jump into writing. The baked good of choice is Icelandic happy marriage cake, which I had never heard of until we went to Iceland for our honeymoon. It is like a rhubarb filled oat cake. It's like somewhere between like a crumble and more like a baked like bar. But the rhubarb is so delicious. And of course, we are in like peak spring season. So I thought it would be like a very fun, seasonally appropriate baked good for my little home cafe. So that's what's next. Baking, coffee, then writing. Hello from Summer Friday vlog number 2. This one's on Sunday. Don't ask too many questions. The long and the short of it is that my current weekend, my most recent Summer Friday opportunity with work, landed on a weekend where my neighborhood was doing like the urban equivalent of garage sales. So where I live, we call it like free cycle weekend. It's usually paired with like sidewalk sales where all of the local businesses will put items out on the street and like put them on discount. And we have a storage unit that is bursting at the seams with the stuff we don't need or even remember that we have. So we decided to take all of Friday to go down there, start the like month-long process of like pulling stuff out, reviewing what it is, deciding what we want to keep, what we want to get rid of, and like how we want to get rid of it. You know, if it's something suitable for donation versus something suitable for resale versus something that just needs to go into the garbage. And that was a big task on Friday ahead of Saturday, which was the actual sale day. So we put all of our goodies out on the sidewalk and we were like astonished to find that everything was gone in 2 hours. And we put out obscure stuff, you know, some of it was really nice stuff that I thought, I don't know if somebody's going to be prepared to take this home on sidewalk sale day. So we put out like a chair, we put out a whole desk, but those disappeared. I put out roller skates that I bought and used once and then never touched again. Those went. I have a lot of antique books through my assorted grandparents, and not all of them are like particularly sentimental. So I put out a bunch of like old kind of fallen apart books and all of those went. It was incredible. It was liberating. And so anyways, Sunday was my free day. So we've also been dog sitting this weekend, which you're gonna think all we do is pet sit for our loved ones. It's just sort of a funny season of that for us, but we're currently dog sitting for our friends who have an adorable Cocker Spaniel named Maggie. You've met her before if you've seen some of my previous writing vlogs from last year. So we've been bit-bopping around from her house to our house so that she would have time, you know, where she's most comfortable, but also so that we could get some of this housework done. And we've enjoyed her snuggly, cute company. You can actually see her head at the bottom of the screen here. Hi, Maggie girl. You want to come say hi? Oh, hi. Hi, Maggie girl. Yeah. Nice to see you. Are you comfortable? So, house tasks are done. The pup is comfortable and prepared for a afternoon home alone. And we are gonna head out to a little cafe in the area to get some writing done, which I'm excited about because I have not written since this last Summer Friday vlog. I think I talked about it then, but I was preparing for one of my many elaborate and silly and whimsical parties. Specifically, we were doing a watch party for Avatar: The Last Airbender Season 2, which was a smash success. That was last weekend, but it meant that like all of my free time that whole week was really committed to like meal prepping because there was so much to do. And then this week was a lot of like getting the house back in order because there had just been so much food and so many people laying around. So hoping to make some really solid progress today. And next weekend I am hosting a friend's bridal shower, so I don't think I'll probably get much writing time that weekend. So my hope is to really make the most of today, jump forward in time, probably one more Summer Friday for the purposes of this vlog, and capture that. And then hopefully by like midsummer, I am on a normal enough schedule that I can predictably write at a minimum on the weekends. And ideally, I would really love to like reestablish more of a daily writing practice. So anyway, that situates you in time. And in terms of situating you on the project, I am still making my way through chapter 13. I think it's chapter 13. It's the last chapter in part 2, arc 1. And we are dealing with the fallout from a sort of pivotal moment in my main character's experience. And I think I left off in the middle of one of 3 scenes that's going to happen in that chapter. So lots of work to do, but I do have a solid map for where we're going. And I've been picturing that scene a lot in the last week. So I'm really hopeful that that's going to go pretty smoothly today. And I will check in with you later once our cafe writing session is all wrapped up. Hi, I'm home after a very lovely day of writing out in the world and enjoying some of Andersonville, which is where a friend of ours lives who we're dog sitting for. We started the day at a new to us cafe that has been on my radar for a while, and I knew I really wanted to go there, but what I didn't know was how like cafe to restaurant it was proportioned. You know, there are some places where cafe is in the name, but it's really more like a place where you can get a whole meal, and it just feels like one of those is better suited to like having your computer out and having a big work session than the other. And it turned out that this place was much more of a restaurant than I realized. And so I got my computer out in the first like 5-10 minutes we were there, but I just didn't see anybody else doing that, and they were fairly busy, and I just felt a little insecure setting up shop there for a long time. So we kind of pivoted and just enjoyed the meal together, and then walked just a little up the road to a more traditional coffee shop where we could comfortably sit and work for a while. I was out with Jake today, and that was lovely because it was great to like try this new place and get kind of like warmed up. And then I actually dove into the writing process at a very wonderful cafe that I love called The Understudy. It's a bookstore cafe combo, and they specialize in, the name might suggest, like plays and poetry, but they do also have a decent section of fiction and nonfiction that is not play oriented. And oftentimes they have really great curated selection. This particular week that we were here, they had a really great display up all about like freedom writers and the different people from different movements who'd written about their experience. I think it was fairly clearly oriented around the like Black American experience. So there were stories in there from the time of slavery up through like the civil rights movement. But it's just such a great place. It's got the most incredible vibes. They've got this gorgeous like whimsical wallpaper on the archway that separates the bookstore from the cafe. The cafe is like wall-to-wall windows, so you feel like you're right out on the street in the sunlight. And we landed chairs on these cute little like roundabout booths. So we picked up some teas there and sat around for probably like 2 hours and wrote. And oh my gosh, it went really well. I was a little conflicted. It took me a while to warm up. The scene that I'm in the middle of at the start of this writing session is just really tricky. Like, it's a really painful scene between two people who love each other and like don't understand each other and like don't believe each other. And that's a really difficult thing, period. And it's also like a tricky thing to like jump back into mid-conversation. But I did feel like I picked up steam and I got to the end of the scene. There's only one scene left in the chapter now. And I'm a little conflicted. I like how it like felt. I liked the sort of imagery that was in it. I liked the way the tension built. But one of the things that I did kind of tapped back into my main character's, we're going to call it like magical ability. And I used it in a way that I've never used it before. And I'm not sure that there's another use case like that in the book, which makes me kind of feel like it's the wrong depiction. If it's sort of like a one-time thing and it doesn't feel like totally consistent with how I conceive of the rules of the magic otherwise. So I might need to think about that some more and revisit kind of that element of the scene. But that aside, I really liked where we built to and where it all kind of broke down. And I also left off really confident going into the next scene of where I'm going to pick up with whom and kind of how we're going to navigate that last kind of batch of disclosures functionally. I had an idea in particular that I was really excited about that is very relevant to the upcoming scene, but that I hadn't planned on incorporating it. So I'm very jazzed to weave that in, so to speak. So after that writing session, I haven't checked how many words I wrote, probably a good 400 or 500, if not more. But on our way back to the house, we stopped into Women and Children's, which is a feminist bookstore in Andersonville that I love. I put so many new books on my reading list and was reminded of just how much I love bookstores. You know, I so rarely go out into the world. I am such a hermit by nature. So it was really fun to just like go stand in a room that was chock full of books and look at another like beautifully curated list, because being a feminist bookstore, they have such interesting titles. And then we walked our way home and got that puppy, took her out one more time, and then kind of came home to do our Sunday chores since her parents were en route home. And I gotta say, I was so tired. I like almost passed out on the couch. I was just like totally tapped out. It's just been so hot and humid here this weekend, and we've been bit bopping around a lot more than normal, and I think it all just kind of caught up to me. So I largely like vegged out for the last couple hours and then made us dinner, and we watched the last 2 episodes of Maul Shadow Lord, if anybody is following all of the latest Star Wars content. And now it's something like 8 o'clock. And I try to go to bed at 9, like get in bed and read and like be ready to go to sleep at 10. So settle down at 9. So I don't have that much time left. And I really wanted to have 2 writing sessions today and just really had let exhaustion get the better of me. So I think I'm going to just cozy up in bed and do one final writing session here. And I'm going to try not to put any like high pressure on it, just see where it goes. My dream would be to get through that last scene and to finish this chapter and just, you know, put a tidy little bow on it. But I'm very okay with making any more progress today. it was a really solid writing session to start. And anything that happens right now, I'm just going to treat as like a cherry on top. So let's see how much more we can do before it's time to turn in. Hello, welcome to the last summer Friday of this vlog. I hope you can hear me okay. I came outside. There's somebody's mowing in the distance, but my hope is that the audio will survive. I am coming to you again, not actually from Friday. This is another 4-day weekend for Juneteenth, which we're celebrating and having off as a holiday on Friday. Which was also due as a summer Friday, so I'm having this Thursday off as well. And we are like deep in the weeds of continuing to clean out our storage unit, which I think I talked about a little bit last time. It's sort of the major spring cleaning project of the season, and yes, it is June, so summer cleaning, I guess. Anyway, most of the weekend is going to be focused on house projects, like the storage unit, like bathroom mold stains, really boring grown-up stuff. But I am still very committed to making sure that at a minimum I'm using one of the days in these long weekends for writing. Can you hear that airplane? I can hear it, it's so loud. And so I'm coming to you from Thursday so that Friday through Sunday can be our home project extravaganza, if you will. I have this delicious, it's so fragrant, peanut butter latte that Jake generously made for me this morning. And I was just trying to think of like what to recap for you from last week before we dive into today. And I guess there are probably a couple things. I'm pretty sure you all heard me at some point talking about how I was planning my friend's bridal shower, and that went really well. That was last weekend. So yet again, I have not written since the last vlog, which has been 2 weeks. That's okay. I had important things going on that were worth focusing on. So we had a beautiful outdoor, very floral day to celebrate my friend last weekend. That was beautiful. I was so exhausted and so anxious for so much of that day. I came home, I took a big nap, and then played Baldur's Gate with Jake, because that is my ongoing birthday gift to him, is learning to play the game with him. So I had a lovely, full, tiring weekend last weekend, and now we are back at it with a fresh slate. And I don't think I mentioned this in any of the previous days that I was vlogging, but something really exciting that has been happening in the background for me in these vlogs is that I finally, this is like embarrassing to say a little bit, but I finally started actually reading Homer. Whoa, I know. I'm writing a Greek mythology retelling, as I'm sure we've already discussed, and a lot of the source material for the story is Homeric poetry. It's the Iliad, it's the Odyssey, and it's many, many, many sort of like derivatives and pieces that are in conversation with those poems, like the Aeneid. And I have owned the books for years, but historically I've very much been like a mythology retelling reader. That's what really sparked my interest in this subject. And I hadn't read the originals. I was just so intimidated by them. And so they sat there and I like tried to read them physically on multiple occasions and just found that it was such slow going. I was really overwhelmed. And so I got the audiobooks, which honestly makes so much sense because one, they have phenomenal audiobook narrators on the Emily Wilson translations of the Iliad and the Odyssey, but also, and perhaps more importantly, they were oral poems to begin with, oral traditions anyway, and they were meant to be spoken aloud. That's why they're written in meter. That's the joy of the meter, is to hear it, that like rhythm as the story progresses. And so I think I started the Iliad like last summer, and it was really good. Immediately I was like, wow, I'm so enthralled by all that I'm learning in the introduction. And then as I got into the first few chapters, I was like, whoa, all of these people I've been thinking about and writing about, they're here. Because of course they were. But even still, I was really intimidated. And so I would read like a chapter and then I would put it down, and I would never feel like ready. Like I was never keyed in enough, focused enough to read it. And I just, in this month, was like, that's so stupid. Like, even if I have to listen to it 10 times, just get into it. Like, just start. It's okay to come back to it if I miss it, if I'm not perfectly listening. And so in the course of like a week, I listened to all of the Iliad. It was so enthralling. Like, it was so good. It's funny at times. Everybody's being so melodramatic. It's really moving. There was so much insight into what I'm reading. And with the Christopher Nolan Odyssey adaptation coming out in theaters next month, Jake and I have also started the Odyssey. We're listening to that together. It is also really good. And now that the Iliad is done, I've moved on to the Aeneid myself. And so I'm about halfway through the Aeneid right now. And it has just been so invigorating. I have so many ideas. I'm like brimming. I've taken so many notes while listening, and I've just been having the best time. So I think that has been such a big like achievement in my research, really just kind of getting over that intimidation factor. And I have learned so much and had so many ideas. And I think in particular, the middle end of this book has been very like squishy and amorphous to me up until now. Like, there were definitely plot beats I wanted to hit, but I was really struggling to weave different elements of time and theme and kind of imagining how all of these different one-off scenes that I had envisioned would come together into a single narrative arc that would feel compelling. And I think that I've puzzled that out just in listening to these books and really starting to get my head focused and like locked back in on this story. So that has been so exciting, so motivating. And I feel like I'm bringing a lot of that energy and excitement and perspective into today's writing session. So as you all know, this entire vlog has been spent on one chapter of the book. Isn't that so sad? It's not sad. It's a challenging thing, and I'm taking my time. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. But I'm in the final scene of this 3-scene chapter. I have a really good sense of where I'm going. I know who the people involved are. I can imagine where they are located. And I've had some really fun ideas for how the interaction in this scene can set up something else later in the book. So that's what I'm going to dive into. I would love, love, love to finish this chapter today, and would be very happy if I got more than just this chapter done, if I was able to really start the next chapter, which is picking up on like arc 2 in this section of the book. So that's the goal, end the chapter, and the stretch goal is start a new chapter. It's about 10 o'clock right now, and I have until 2 o'clock free. Then I gotta go pick up my retainer from the dentist, and I have to get my glasses fixed because my like clear and gold frames got dropped. I dropped them. That sounded too passive. I dropped my glasses. But they're gonna fix them at the eye doctor. Then I will come home and hopefully have time for one more writing session today before the evening. So that is what is coming up today. We are caffeinated. We are motivated. Let's get some writing done. Okay, writing day done. The air conditioner is joining us. I did it. Finally! We have finally finished this chapter, this never-ending chapter. It's a long one. It's like 4,500 words in total. And I was able to finish the chapter with a full final scene with a new character that kind of rounds out this series of disclosures that I've been working on. And I'm really happy with it. I think it conveys what I want it to, which is care and a total lack of understanding about what the main character is going through. And it also introduces this like magical item that is canonical in the Homeric poetry that I'm kind of using in a way that I think is perhaps unexpected, but also totally makes sense and would be possible in this setting and with these people. So that was really fun to get to add. And actually over the break, so I stopped, made lunch, went to the dentist, went to the eye doctor, stopped by a very cute bookstore in the area called The Bookseller. In that process, I was on a very long walk with Jake as we went to and fro. And we were listening to the Odyssey. And I actually got to the chapter of the Odyssey where this like magical item is introduced. So it was very cool to like get to see that and, you know, hear how it was characterized and where it's from and all of that stuff to just be sort of presented there so tidily right as I was about to write about it. So I'm just feeling so relieved to finally have this chapter behind me. I know it needs edits. I already have like an alternative version of the second scene that kind of needs to get added in draft 2, but that's okay. What matters is that it's behind me. We've done it. I wrote about 1,000 words today, and now I get to have this new fresh slate of a new chapter in the second arc of this part of the book. So there's lots of real sort of like progress I feel like that I have been set up to make as the next couple weeks roll around. So this has been a long vlog. It's covered 3 different days over like a month and a half. The only 3 days that I wrote in that month and a half. But progress is progress. And I have like broken down that fear of reading the sources. In actually doing that, I'm having so much fun and so many ideas. I'm feeling more plugged into the story than I have in ages. And I'm just really excited to really be starting to get back into it. So I will probably be able to put together at least one more kind of Summer Friday writing vlog before the end of Summer Fridays for the year. So if there's anything else you'd like to see or hear about my like writing process on these days, please do let me know down below, because we've got around 2 coming at some point probably. And I would also love to know how everything is going in your writing projects, what you're working on, how far along are you, what was the big scary thing in your project, and how did you overcome it? Have you overcome it? Do you need a cheerleader? Let me know. And I am just so excited to have a chance to hear more about, you know, what's going on in your writing life as I share what's going on in mine with all of you. So I hope your writing is going well. Let me know all about it down below, and I'll see you all soon in another video. Bye.